Hey there, Start here. We've got a new weekly mission with a nice 3,000 lapis reward. Haven't seen one of these in a while, so I was happy to see one of these. And so, as usual, I'm going to take my EX0 Esther in there and see how we can get this one done. So I'm going to be doing the EXT2 battle. The EXT1 battle, you can bring a friend, and so that one's very easy. You can just bring any overpowered friend unit you want into that one. It's the same 3 battles as EXT2, except the only difference is EXT2 you can't bring a friend, so that makes it a little bit more difficult. But it's honestly not a very difficult sort of challenge dungeon on this one. Now it only shows you the last 2 bosses, Rhus and Neilikka. They're both human, weak to earth, low defense. So of course, Esther and Sylvie are going to want to take this one on. There are 2 other bosses, so there are 3. If you haven't played it yet, there are 3 battles. So that's something to keep in mind. The first battle is against Rain, who is a human as well. And then the second battle is against a machine, one of the Wygars. So, you also want to have some machine killer in there, so keep that in mind. And then the last battle is, of course, 2 more humans. Now, the rewards for this one are pretty standard. Luckily, there's no turn limit on this one. So if your units aren't quite as strong, but you have, if you have Runda, you can honestly take your time on all of these bosses. Runda, of course, just brings all the insane bulkiness and the tanking for this. So you can really take as long as you want if you have Runda on your team. No continues for the 3,000 lapis. That one's very easy to do. Dealing earth damage for the mystery crystal. Again, very easy, and you want to use earth on this one because the final bosses are weak to earth. So yeah, I mean, the missions on this one are very easy. So a very easy 3,000 lapis and mystery crystal. So here's the team that I took in to get this one done. I'm bringing Tulien along for the Earth Imperil. We've got Runda, of course, for the tank, for tanking. We've got Esther for damage. NVA Elena is just there to chain with Esther. She's going to do irrelevant damage. And then Paladin Sylvie to bring the earth, basically the earth buffs and whatnot, and just to help out Esther a bit with her damage. If you don't have Paladin Sylvie, you can bring 7-star Sylvie and essentially do a similar strategy to this one. It just might take you a little bit longer because Esther won't get that extra mod boost to her limit burst from Paladin Sylvie, and also the earth amps won't be nearly as high, obviously, on 7-star Sylvie, but she can still do a lot of the same things that I'm going to use Paladin Sylvie here for. So I'm not going to use Paladin Sylvie in any sort of extraordinary manner that you wouldn't be able to get away with using a 7-star Sylvie. All right, so here's the gear that we're using. So you don't have to worry too much about all of this gear. I would recommend doing the story content to get Wygar, which is an upgraded, it's an exclusive item from the story, so a free accessory you can get from the story for Tulien that gives Tulien access to this 160% earth imperil. And so that can definitely come in handy and help you clear this out quickly if your damage dealers aren't that strong. If your damage dealers are really strong, you're just going to clear this no problem. But if you're working with more of a budget team, that will definitely come in handy. Your Tulien doesn't have to be EX1 or 2. I think you could still get away with this with even an EX0 Tulien. If you don't have Tulien, I would recommend, someone like Kaktiria is a great breaker that also brings earth imperils. You could also potentially even get away with like Avalanche Jessie, all right, because she has 120% all elemental imperils, plus the 87 defense and spirit breaks on her limit burst. So Avalanche Jessie's a real nice budget option on this one. I'm just using Tulien because, why not? Tulien's a great pick for this one. The big thing that you want is you want some earth, some wind resists, because on the second battle, there's going to be some single target wind magic damage. And so Tulien is going to be our provoke unit, and we want to make sure that he is fully resistant to that wind. Now 240% is way overkill. I think it's only a 70% imperil if I'm remembering correctly. So you've got some options here. You can do like a 70%. You can build 70% wind resist and then have Runda do his 100% wind buff, which I will do on turn 2 just to show you, and then that should have you covered. So if you can't build for a lot of wind resist, then just do that. Just do 70% wind resist and then have Runda buff him on turn 2, on the second battle. All right, so that's Tulien. Runda, of course, is just being his usual tanky self. Pretty standard gear that I usually put on him. Power cut pretty much lives on Runda. If you don't have power cut, use King Bahemi's card. That works really well too. All right, and yeah, he's just going to tank it like a champ as usual. Here's my Esther build for this fight, so fairly budget on the Esther build here. So using some free gear there, indestructible light for chain cap up, weapon specialist and heartless assassin to cap off the human killer, and Ling's card there. So we should be good with 300% human, 300% LB damage, ready to go. All right, Elena here, again, fairly budget gear, nothing really shaking here. Yeah, similar build. She's easier to build for, there's that friend or foe card. She's easier to build for human killers, 300% human killers, 200% LB damage. Like I said, she's just here to chain with Esther. We could use her potentially for her human killer in her Brave Shift form, but it's not going to be needed here. Forgot about Sylvie, of course. So Sylvie's just going to be hanging out in her Brave Shift form the whole time. So you do need an EX+1 Paladin Sylvie to follow this strategy exactly, because she does need access to her Brave Shift form, and that's most importantly for filling up Esther's LB in the final battle, which 7-star Sylvie also has that capability. So again, that's why 7-star Sylvie can work with this strategy. It just might take a little bit longer. You can honestly ignore all of the gear. Sylvie doesn't need anything. She can be completely naked. Just equip her TMR or STMR if you want to, but she doesn't need anything for this fight. So she is purely a support role. She's not going to take any damage, so she doesn't need any of this gear. You can ignore it completely. All right, so let's get in here and see how we get this done. All right, so turn 1, we're going to have Tulien do his LB. Now, his LB is a triple bolting strike chaining frame, so we're not going to use it right away. We're going to have Esther do a little chain damage with him. Runda can go ahead and do his LB. By the way, the season 4 story units, such as Tulien, Runda, if you have Tyvis, Tyvis would get the buffs. Well, they all get buffs. So you notice Runda's HP has just gone up to 84,000. So I think everybody gets a 300% buff. So let me see. I actually would like to check his defense. Yeah, so he 300% stat buff all around. So yeah, using story event units could potentially be a really good idea here if you have them. All right, let's see. We are just going to do, all right, actually I'm just going to have her fill up her LB on this one, just Way of the Aurora, and that's just going to fill up her LB for next turn. Sylvie will just do Paladin's offense, Paladin's defense, and Gravel Egg. Something to keep in mind, Magnus abilities will not recharge battle to battle, right? So you have a limited number of uses on these, and they will not recharge in the next battle. Cooldown abilities, however, do reset battle to battle. So you can use cooldown abilities and they'll be ready in the next battle, no problem, even if you cleared on the first turn. So you don't have to wait for those, but Magnus abilities, you do have to wait for those. Right? So that's why I'm using Paladin's Offense, Paladin's Defense, and Gravel Egg instead of Marion's Blessing Earth. We're going to save that one for next turn. All right? So we'll go ahead and do that. And then Esther will just do Calm Before the Storm and Double Bolting Slice. Okay, so she's going to chain it up with Tulien. If you don't have Tulien's LB, or sorry, if you don't have Tulien to EX2 to have the LB up, don't worry about it. You can honestly do, you can do like a triple cast and do, what is it? Like full breakdown, or you could even use, if you have his TMR equipped, you could just have him do his Earthbreaker ability. The damage here isn't really all that relevant, as you'll see. It's just something to do a little extra if you have Tulien on the team. Yeah, see, I mean, we're only doing 8%, you know, off that. So, you know, even if you didn't have that, you'd be fine. All right, now Tulien can do Jord kicks for the bigger Imperil. All right. What I'll have here is I'll just have Sylvie and Runda chain a little bit. This is just to ramp up the chain. All right, if you had 7-star Sylvie, you know, you could, you know, you'd have to imbue her or give her an ability that has like a triple bolting strike on it or something like that, but yeah. All right, and we'll just do, oh, what am I doing? LB, duh. All right, LB, LB. All right, and here we go. All right, goodbye rain. All right, so that one was easy peasy. The next one shouldn't be too difficult either, because this one's a machine, so Esther's really gonna love this one. All right, Tulien, again, can just do LB, or if you have his TMR, use his TMR ability Earthbreaker on this one. Runda is not going to use his LB on this one. We're going to do Runda Barrier. This is for the wind buff. So if you didn't have a lot of wind resists on your Tulien, or whoever your provoke unit is, if they don't have a whole lot of wind resist, you know, if you could only build them for 70% wind, then this buff will take care of them. All right. Sylvie is basically just going to do the same thing she did last turn. Paladin's Offense, Paladin's Defense, except this time she's going to do Marion's Blessing Earth. All right, and so here we can do a little bit of chaining. All right, you can do Piercing Prism and Crystal Refraction after you do Way of the Aurora. Esther will do Energizing Bunny for the Machine Killers, followed by Calm Before the Storm and Bolting Slice. All right, and so Tulien will start, followed by Elena and Esther. Okay. So there's the single target wind damage. And it is magic damage, so Runda will not cover it. Alright, on this one, again, we'll just do, you see my Tulien's got SLB, but I'm not going to use it. We'll just do Jord Kicks again for the bigger Earth Imperil. Alright, yeah, and we're pretty much good to go here. We could just go ahead and LB. So even if, like, you know, your Sylvie was EX1 and didn't have her LB ready to go or anything like that, you know, it's not necessary. You could have Sylvie and Runda chain again here, but this one's going to go down very, very easily, so we don't need to worry about that. We're just going to go ahead and kill this thing. So we have, yeah, so we have multiple opponents on the field this time, and so we can only do the Greatsword and Peril on one of them. Now, if you had something like the Leave Things to Me vision card equipped to somebody, that would be useful in this situation, because that would do the AoE Greatsword and Peril. And so we're not going to be able to do that, and so we're probably only going to kill one of the bosses on our burst turn next turn, but that's why we have Sylvie there to re-up Esther's LB to kill on turn 3. Alright, so we're gonna pick one, doesn't matter, we'll pick, let's say we'll do Rhus. We'll choose Rhus for the Greatsword and Peril. Sylvie will do the usual Paladin's offense, Paladin's defense, and Marion's blessing again. Alright, Tulien, we'll go ahead and do the LB. Runda will do his LB. And we'll just do Wave the Aurora, Piercing Prism, and Crystal Refraction. Alright, and that should be good. Yep, so we'll have Runda do his LB, and we'll just chain it up here. Alright, so Rhus should almost certainly die next turn. And you can see Runda taking like 0 damage. Alright. So yeah, Rhus will almost certainly die here. I'll go ahead and have Sylvie do her Brave Shift LB. Tulien can do Jord Kicks for the increased Earth and Peril. Runda can just do why not Runda Barrier? Alright. Alright, there we go. Yeah, alright. So, no worries. Neilikka is still alive, but no worries. Runda is going to tank it like a champ. Alright, and so here, what we can do is, I've got your back on Esther and double Clever Paladin Strike to fill up Elena's. Alright, oh, so close. Alright, Runda will finish that off. There you go. And let's kill. Boom. Alright, easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. And yeah, Esther is almost assuredly carrying this fight. Elena's just there for support chaining. So if you have another strong unit that does extreme Nova chains, I mean, Chizuru almost certainly solo carries this one. And so, you know, lots of options there. Sorry, I forgot to look at the details on that one, but no worries. It's a pretty easy one. Most of you guys have probably already cleared it, but if not, hopefully this one was helpful to you guys. And yeah, not much else to do this week. So you probably won't see too much else from me until we get some news about the Clash of Wills that is going to be coming out next week. I'm pretty excited to see what they're going to give us for the Halloween banner. Halloween events are they've been kind of hit or miss. Some years they really do well with the Halloween events, and other years it's kind of been off. But we'll see. I'm hoping it's going to be a good year for Halloween. Very excited to see the new cow boss and get in there. So thank you guys for following me. Thanks you so much for your support, and I will see you on the other side.